Welcome to Rothsay, Minnesota, home of the world's largest prairie chicken. We have stopped here many times to take photos by the statue on our way west. Today we are here to take photos of actual Greater Prairie-Chickens. In working my way through all of the Wild America episodes on the Roku channel, I recently watched one called Dancers of the Dawn. I decided to Google if there was a good spot to see prairie chickens dance in this annual spring tradition. It turns out the DNR has several blinds across western Minnesota that can be reserved for this purpose. I contacted them in February, and every Saturday and Sunday in April and May were already booked. Who are all these crazy people? I settled for Monday, April 22nd. We followed reflectors on a 3/4 mile walk through prairie grass at 5:15 a.m. until we found the trailer that would serve as the blind. As soon as we could see, we spotted the prairie chickens were already out there and dancing. Each spring, males assemble on this dancing ground known as a lek to defend their territory and compete for the right to breed. This routine is a strange display and goes on for about the first 2 hours after daylight. The males extend their orange eye combs, they raise 2 tufts of feathers that are on their neck called pinnae. They produce a booming vocalization by expanding the bright orange air sacs in their neck. They can also point their tail forward, shake their wings, and stamp their feet in the ground as rapidly as they can. Like a river dancer, they can take up to 17 steps in a second. When a female arrives, this even kicks up a notch. Sandhill cranes are also known for their courtship dancing skills. When these cranes landed near the lek, they immediately started dancing. But then, surprisingly, the chickens took off. We thought we were done for the day. But one by one, the male prairie chickens started coming back. The dancing was a lot more subtle than I expected and hard to pick up with the camera. However, the fighting between the males was not subtle. They are trying to hold a spot in the center of the lek, so they do a lot of chasing each other and striking with their wings and feet. They also have standoffs where one will back down with no conflict. In the end, one male, probably the one with the strongest legs, does almost all the mating. Once the male's work is done, they have nothing to do with nest building or rearing the young. Ringneck pheasants also live in open grasslands. We saw and heard many of them. They like to lay their eggs in the prairie chicken's nest. Since these eggs hatch first, the prairie chicken will isolate them thinking they are the survivors. Consequently, the prairie chickens don't survive. This was the view from the blind. While we took lots of pictures, we spent most of our time just watching the prairie chickens dance with our binoculars. The blind had 4 chairs, 2 windows, and a nice countertop for my snacks and coffee.
Choosing your battle, pick yourself up and dust yourself off and back in the saddle.
The prairie chicken is part of the grouse family. It's about 16 to 18 inches long. The lesser prairie chicken is smaller and has more reddish air sacs instead of orange. They are only found in West Texas, New Mexico, eastern Colorado, western Oklahoma, and western Kansas. Kansas is the only area where the ranges of the lesser and greater prairie chicken overlap. Minnesota is one of the few states that allow hunting of greater prairie chickens. Hunting was closed in 1943 because numbers were so low due to the loss of habitat. They say that only about 4% of the tallgrass prairie that once existed in this country still exists. Numbers rebounded enough that in 2003 they reopened a 5-day season in late September for residents, where they could shoot up to 2 birds. Interest in hunting them has continued to grow since then. I bet they taste like chicken.
People are raising their expectations. Go and feed them, this is your moment, no hesitation. Today's your day, I feel it. You pave the way, believe it. If you get down, get up, oh, when you get down, get up, Tamina, mina, sangalewa. This time for Africa. Tamina, mina, waka, waka, Tamina, mina, sangalewa. Anawa, Tamina, mina, waka, waka, Tamina, mina, sangalewa.
All morning, we could hear meadowlarks calling. My phone told me these were western meadowlarks. Where we live, we only have eastern meadowlarks. The song is the best way to distinguish them since they look alike. They are both fine singers. Apparently, the western has richer gurgles, while the eastern has clearer whistles. The yellow on the western's throat also continues on the side of the head all the way to the jaw. I usually see easterns singing perched on fence posts or taller plant stalks. There was nothing tall around to perch on, so we had to spot this guy singing in the grass. He would tip his head way back to sing. While I was trying to get photos of him singing, all of a sudden Lucas noticed a bird flying towards us. It was a northern harrier. It came low and grabbed a chicken and picked it right off the ground. I didn't have a chance to switch my camera to a different mode. Video would have been great. The harrier only flew about 15 feet and the chicken clawed its way free. This is still impressive that it could pick it up, as harriers are only 14 ounces. What's a hen weigh? About 2 to 3 pounds. I snapped a few blurry shots, but it was really something to witness right in front of us. This prairie chicken seemed unfazed. I think they are used to being treated roughly. It is rare for a harrier to attack a prairie chicken, even though they share the same habitat. I was surprised to learn that there have been several studies about this, and all conclude that these attacks are rare, but we witnessed one.
I've been walking these streets so long, singing the same old song. I know every crack in these dirty sidewalks of Broadway, where hustle's the name of the game, and nice guys get washed away like the snow and the rain. There's been a load of compromising.
A group of prairie chickens is actually called a little house. How appropriate. We were also very excited when we saw a prairie falcon buzz through the prairie chickens. This time, the little house was alert and ready. Prairie falcons look very similar to a peregrine falcon, but have dark patches under their armpit. I can't see much of that on this picture, but it's a falcon and it's the prairie. They normally hunt ground squirrels, but they are capable of killing burrowing owls, so prairie chickens beware. We've gotten good at spotting the northern harrier with the white band in the middle of its tail. They were hunting pretty much all morning, gliding over the edge of the field and then dive bombing when they spotted prey.
But you're down when you're riding the train that's taking the long way. And I dream of the things I'll do with a subway token and a dollar tucked inside my shoe. There'll be a load of compromising on the road to my horizon.
The male prairie chicken spent most of the morning chasing the other males out of the center of the leg. They're extremely fast runners, and when their white tail faced you, you almost thought you were watching rabbits running around.
And
prairie chickens provided us with 2 hours of first-class entertainment, so it was well worth the small commitment of taking a day off work, driving 170 miles, getting up at 4:15 in the morning, and walking 3/4 of a mile. And besides, it was a nice day. There was a slight south breeze, but our blind faced to the north, so we couldn't feel it at all. The breeze did work to make it hard to pick up the sounds of the booming, but this is what we heard for the whole morning. As I mentioned earlier, the meadowlark, who had been singing all morning, had no high perch to sing from. But suddenly he found one. He was on top of our trailer, and man was it loud. The northern harrier and the greater prairie-chicken punched their time card and headed out, and so did we. On our way back from the trailer, we spotted yet another western bird that breeds on the prairie grass of the Great Plains, a shorebird that we've been hearing all morning called the marbled godwit. The godwit is really only a shorebird in the wintertime when it can be found on the coast. In the summer, it swaps out its diet of crustaceans for grasshoppers and insects. Seeing this bird made us 5 for 5 on the day of the birds we were looking for on the prairie, with the greater prairie-chicken, the northern harrier, the western meadowlark, the prairie falcon, and now the marbled godwit. The godwit would prove to give us some of our best pictures of the day. Sure, you can get a photo with the world's largest turkey in Frazee and the world's largest pelican in Pelican Rapids, but you really can't beat the world's largest prairie chicken in Rothsay, Minnesota. Not to mention, the truck stop in Rothsay has incredible homemade cake donuts, which we also checked out. We checked out a few nearby ponds which were chock full of dabbling ducks. It's crazy to see the size difference between the teal and the mallards. There were also many shorebirds. Fortunately, we were looking directly into the sun, so it was tough to identify many of the ducks. With so much day left and so much waterfowl to see, we decided to head south to Lac-Qui-Parle County, which I'm sure is French for Minnesota's love handle. The western border along the Minnesota River is a part of Minnesota I've never been to before. I was actually very impressed by the Big Stone National Wildlife Refuge auto tour. If you like prairie and cool rock formations and trees, and if you like seeing a lot of western birds during migration, this is the spot to go to. In addition to shorebirds like these lesser yellowlegs, we've seen many pied-billed grebes paired up all along the shoreline of the giant lake that the auto tour follows. We also seen many pairs of these lesser scout. They have more of a peaked head than the greater scaup, and they are a common diving duck in this part of the state. On our way back east, we found many ponds full of diving ducks. It's pretty cool to see a pond with as many different species of ducks all swimming together as this one had. At first we thought it was all ruddy ducks, which would have been pretty cool in its own right, but then we spotted canvasbacks and ringneck ducks, and then we got some great shots of redheads, which were mixed in with plenty of lesser scaup and grebes. All sorts of diving ducks, all in one pond. We also spotted a group of egrets with a great blue heron, and for the first time in my life, I noticed the bright green patch of color that the egret gets between its eyes during mating season. All in all, it was a great day of birding and a great day of checking out the Greater Prairie-Chicken.